Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. New Sprint Ride Option Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Hustle Network. Something about that instrumental just makes me want to dab, and I don't like it because dabbing is not cool. I am Andrew Pasquini. I got Jason Aponte to my right. Jason, how are you doing today?
It's raining a ton over here right now, so I don't know if you can really hear that in the background. But other than that, I think we've got some clarity right now on this roster, so I feel better. I feel a lot better because yesterday we were kind of, hey, I think this is what's happening. The list wasn't coming out, things like that. And here, you just got owned, boom, in the comments by Angie. So
Angie got me. Dabbing is fun. I mean, it is fun. We probably shouldn't do it anymore. It's 2021, guys. Come on. Yeah, I watched your live stream and I was like, okay, I was scrolling Twitter for you to try and be like, hey, Jason, it's out. You could talk about it now. And it just never happened. And I don't think it came out until about 3:30-ish when it was supposed to come out at 1. So, I mean, is what it is. We are living in Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's world. That's pretty much what it is. It's a world I like to live in. I don't know about anyone else. It's a pretty fun world. Gives me some excitement about the 49ers. So yeah, we're here to talk about the 53-man roster. The Niners made some practice squad moves. We're going to go through the initial 53-man roster first, and then we'll talk about the practice squad. A lot of cuts happened, but before we talk about cuts, let's talk about trimming. Support for the Sprint Ride Option Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-waist grooming, champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SPRINTRIGHT at manscaped.com. Jason and I, we were one of the first people who got to try the new 4.0, and we were blown away by the performance. Just imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. Jason, I don't know about you. I loved my experience with the Lawnmower 4.0. It's good. It's a really nice razor, really nice lightweight razor. Gave me confidence. I'm a person, I've said it last time, I don't like to trim the beard. You probably can imagine I'm not a big trimmer, but got the chance with the 4.0. The Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. I now feel confident shaving my boys. I mean, that's just what it is. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on-off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn on the 4000K LED spotlight on and off whenever you need a more precise shave. That's my favorite feature, the light. It's dark down there, man.
You stole mine. You stole mine, honestly, because that was my favorite feature. It's almost like a red beam on a firearm. Like it literally is showing you what it needs to do. And then, the wireless charging is it's incredible, man. It's so lightweight. What else can we say about it?
Yeah, and the Lawnmower also, it comes with a additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. Men, if you've been shaving with the same nut trimmer on your face, you've been doing it wrong. No person wants the hair from the south coming past the Watchers of the Wall in Game of Thrones coming up north. You don't want that stuff in your mouth. So get the separate razor, very, very important. It's time to get your own ball, hair, and body trimmer with Manscaped to make me time the best time and enhance your confidence with some nice, smooth boys. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SPRINTRIGHT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code SPRINTRIGHT. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. So, Jason, I think the biggest surprise, we're just going to go position by position here. I think that's the easiest way to do this because a lot of movement has happened the past 24 hours. we're going to start just position by position. I think the biggest surprise to me, two quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance make the roster. Nate Sudfeld got cut. Yes, we know he's on the practice squad. We're going to touch on the practice squad later. It makes me a little nervous with the two quarterback thing, just because like we're used to Kyle Shanahan going three quarterbacks. That's kind of been his thing. It makes me a little nervous that this is the year he chooses to go two quarterbacks, especially with the idea of a platoon at the quarterback role, because now you're putting yourself in a situation where you can have both quarterbacks maybe get dinged up a little bit in the same game, and you need a third guy to come in. So interesting year for Kyle Shanahan to move off of his three quarterback philosophy.
I actually really like it. So when you think about it, just think about what's happening right now with COVID. And, if one person in the room is a close contact and you're in that room, then the entire section is quarantined. The 49ers know that better than anybody, especially considering that Packers game last year.
Yep.
So you do want to have Nate Sudfeld, who will be involved in the playbook, but from home, just in case something like that happens. So I think that it was a nice way for them to do that. Also, they had to make room for other players. So, I mean, we'll talk about who made the practice squad, but I do like the idea of Nate Sudfeld being there just in a pinch. You definitely don't want to have them all in the same room and then be stuck. There's no Jerick McKinnon to fall back on to play quarterback. You'd have to probably start Kyle Juszczyk or DJ Jones. So
they got a Kyle Juszczyk.
Yep.
Oh, there's Don. Don's here. Hi, Don. Oh, God, I love Don. I get so excited when he's there.
Yeah, don't leave us. Don't leave us week 2. Like, don't go troll your other fan base. Come stay with us. Please.
Come hang out with us, Don. We love it. We love the enthusiasm you have for the Lions. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I knew even with Sudfeld getting cut from the initial 53, he was coming back on the practice squad. It's just more the off chance, you obviously don't want to see it happen, is a game where Lance maybe, whatever, one game injury thing, and Jimmy gets hurt. Now all of a sudden, what do you have in that game? That's more so my concern. But it's a very specific concern. I don't think it's an issue we're going to have to worry about, just because it hasn't really happened. Like, the Niners haven't really gone through 2 or 3 quarterbacks in a game. It's just more the idea that they're going to rotate between 2 quarterbacks in a game. Things can happen. So I feel like the insurance of having that third quarterback would have made me feel more comfortable. But hey, I'm not Kyle Shanahan for a reason. That's okay. They obviously feel comfortable enough with their quarterback situation to go to 2, and we'll see in other positions, because I believe they kept 11 defensive linemen. So
pretty much everybody.
You're gonna see that depth elsewhere. But hey, I know a lot of people were all in on the idea of keeping 2, and I've been a big keep 2 quarterback guy. It's just very, very interesting that this is the year they choose to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't think that this decision would have happened, or it wouldn't have been considered more if this defensive line wasn't as deep as it was. I mean, it's just, again, we were saying, someone's going to have to not be on this roster that's a really good football player, and we've seen that at other positions. Wayne Gallman didn't make it, and he's still out there. He's not on waivers. He's actually a free agent. We'll get to running backs in a little bit, but that's the thing. Everybody wants to keep all these players, but you have to get under 53. And I think the 49ers did it in a pretty crafty way. As far as like who really got picked, I think it was only 3 players that were picked, but one of them was Dakota Shepley. And I'll give you 2 guesses. You're probably going to only need one as to which team claimed Dakota Shepley.
The Seattle Dragons.
The Seattle Krakens, yes, the Seattle Seahawks. As they
I went with the XFL team. Yeah, the Seahawks picking up Niners players, a tale as old as time. That was expected. Like, I don't know. I don't know why the Seahawks love Niner players so much. I guess it makes sense, because you get that little bit of insight you get. But hey, whatever is what it is. So we're good with quarterbacks. I think not too big of a surprise that they only kept 2. I don't think it really is. Running backs and fullback, we'll count Kyle Juszczyk in this. They kept 5: Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, JaMycal Hasty, and then Juszczyk. They cut Wayne Gallman and Josh Hokett, and then Jeff Wilson goes on the reserve, physically unable to perform list. And this is probably the surprise that got everybody. They went with JaMycal Hasty over Wayne Gallman.
I mean, you see the flashes, and you could say athletically gifted more than Gallman. I don't really think that anybody's there to argue that. I just was on the idea of he's great in pass pro. He's been a solid pro. Shanahan likes to turn it over to guys that he trusts, and I felt like Gallman was going to be one of those guys. So, and I was actually very surprised that, he wasn't allowed to be claimed because he has too many league years accrued. So he's a free agent just to be signed by anybody. There's no waiver claim that has to go through it, but he still hasn't made it, especially when you think about like a team like Atlanta, who has Mike Davis, Kadri Allison, and Cordero Patterson only. The Rams just lost, Cam Akers. They bring in Sony Michel. Okay, but now you have Xavier Jones and Jake Funk. Those aren't guys that you like know off the bat that you can contribute. And then the same thing with the Ravens. J.K. Dobbins goes down. Gus Edwards is there. Tyson Williams is there, and Justice Hill. But I would have thought one of those three teams would have picked him up. So he's still out there. I don't know if all the practice squad spots are filled, but there is at least that possibility out there. I'm sure that he'll get picked up sooner than later if I had to guess.
Yeah, I believe they have 4 practice squad spots remaining. They picked up 13 to the practice squad. I believe you get 17. I think that's what I saw in a tweet. Don't trust me on. Please don't quote me on that. I'm going based off memory. My memory is not good. But yeah, I was kind of surprised. It was a happy surprise though, because JaMycal Hasty, he's been that guy that the Niner fans have wanted to see. And I think him finally getting his chance, how they're going to use him, I don't know. I kind of mentioned it yesterday on your stream that maybe they're looking at him in return aspects because of moves they made at another position we'll get to here in a second. Elijah Mitchell feels like the most obvious choice there. But Hasty does have some background in return at Baylor. So I think that's a big reason. But for me, I think it's exciting because it showed he improved, because we came onto the show after week 1 of the preseason and said, hey, the fumbling issues are still there. If he doesn't fix this fumble issue, like Shanahan's not going to keep him. And obviously I don't think he had a fumble the next 2 games. And he led the league in rushing for the preseason, which I didn't know they kept that stat. But hey, preseason stats are very important to guys like JaMycal Hasty, because he hasn't really gotten a chance in the regular season. So like those are his reps, and he made the most out of it. So yes, I understand the thought of like, hey, preseason, it means nothing. Like, why do we do this? JaMycal Hasty's is case 1 for the Niners is he took his chance in the preseason because the lack of, Mostert didn't play the first 2 games. Sermon didn't play the games. So he took his chances and he got the spot. And I'm very excited to see what he can do in a season with the Niners.
Yeah, and it's a nice explosive back to have with Mostert as well too. Mitchell's like that as well, but Hasty has shown a lot more. So yeah, I mean, great for him. I'm happy that he made it. And what I was saying about my prediction was that he ends up in the practice squad and someone else would have picked him up. Now you don't have to worry about that. So good. Great for JaMycal Hasty. It keeps nice balance in this running back room.
Yeah, and people are asking where Wayne Gallman went. He hasn't been picked up anywhere, so the Niners can still bring him back. And like that's the thing with these cuts. The reason they say the initial 53-man roster is a lot of these names that got cut, they're coming back at some point. It's just what it is. Moving on to receiver, this is one that I'm going to try and rein Jason in a little bit here.
No. I'm not going off on this one.
So the Niners kept 6, 3 of the names, 4 of the names, not surprising. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Mohamed Sanu, Trent Sherfield really earned his spot. Jalen Hurd and Jawan Jennings. They cut Travis Benjamin, River Craycraft, and Simba Webster. I know Webster went to Chicago, which a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping he would be a practice squad guy because, it's return game. We talk about it. But they also cut Travis Benjamin, so the return game really isn't deep. That was another surprise to me was the lack of return specialists, because that's something the Niners have had issues with. But receiver room, I feel pretty good about it overall. I really like what Trent Sherfield did this preseason. He really showed out. I think receiver 3 is his for now until Sanu performs a little bit better. He had a hit or miss preseason, but he was a guy that I didn't think was ever going to get cut. I thought it was his spot to really lose. But he was never going to lose it. Jalen Hurd is obviously the name here. We'll see. That's really all you can say about it. He hasn't played a snap in the regular season. He looked iffy in preseason week 3. He got a lot of chances. He looked fine at some points, not great at other points. We'll see. There's obviously a reason Kyle Shanahan wants him on this roster. He has plans for him. We'll see how those plans get executed. I don't want to get too excited about Jalen Hurd. I think a lot of people love the idea of Jalen Hurd. Let's see if he can do it. That's really, I think that's the most excited you'll hear me about Jalen Hurd until he proves he can do it in a regular season game.
I mean, and that's the way that everybody should be approaching it at this point. And hey, if he turns up and he starts to be what Shanahan thinks, or he starts to show that explosion, that burst, and he's able to rein in the passes, then great. That's fine. That's amazing. But we're talking about a wide receiver 6 right now who's never really done anything, and that's really what it's about. If you get something from him, great. If not, don't get disappointed. Your expectations are setting you up for disappointment. No, just let's see him get on the field. Let's see him put some games together. Let's see him put weeks of practice together. Didn't practice today, right after the game. See what I'm talking about? Like already. And that's the thing. But Benjamin actually making it back to the practice squad is actually good because he can be called up in a pinch one day to just, hey, we need you to just field some punts. He's done it at this level. He's very trustworthy when it comes to that too. So as far as everybody else, Jennings really came on towards the end. And we're talking about somebody who last year was just an afterthought, especially after the injury, who – strong hands, big slot that, clearly Kyle Shanahan wants big slot because he has Sanu, Jennings, Hurd, all three of them are profiled in the same way. So, yeah, it's Sherfield's wide receiver 3 job, and it's not really close at this point. He'd probably take over more of that Kendrick Bourne role, but I feel like he's a little bit more explosive than Kendrick Bourne is. I mean, I don't want to downplay Kendrick Bourne because he's done it for years and years, and I think that he's a very solid receiver. But Trent Sherfield just showed me a little bit more in practices and in the games. So we'll see. I feel like the offense is a lot more explosive when everybody's healthy. Unfortunately, Brandon Ayuk didn't practice again today. So we'll see about that. But good. They have some time to get ready for Detroit. But, yeah, overall, the room didn't really shake out aside from the Hurd thing, in my opinion, with anything really controversial at this point. Especially, the Hurd thing is not even really controversial when you hear John Lynch say, hey, he's one of our top 6 receivers on this team. That's it. You already had to know then. And then he made it through the game. So, it was kind of locked in. Yeah, so I agree with that.
Yeah, and the thing my biggest issue with the receiver room is none of these guys are proven stretch the field type guys, which isn't a huge deal in the Shanahan offense because he's all about spacing. You don't have a legitimate deep threat yet. Maybe Ayuk can develop into that a little bit, but I mean, it's not a surprise because Shanahan really likes to get guys open with his route, the way he designs the plays and all that. So we'll see how that works because I know a lot of people were like, oh, Trey Lance can stretch the field with his big arm. Well, who's the receiver that's going to consistently get open deep? We'll see. We'll find out. I think it'll be fun, but it's really all 6 guys are the kind of receivers you picture Kyle Shanahan succeeding with.
Yep, and they all showed something. Again, Sanu was out front, wide receiver 3. Sherfield blew by him and pretty much blew by almost every other receiver after that. Kind of fell down a little bit. When Jennings came on, you could see him getting on that 6th spot was going to be, okay, what do you value? Are you going to keep Simba Webster? Are you going to keep Hurd, so you can have a punt returner? Kind of didn't work out with Webster being claimed by Chicago, but you had to think that decision wasn't as easy as all that. But, Kyle Shanahan said today that they have an idea of who the punt returner is, and he's in the building right now. So that kind of leans you to who, at this point. So Kyle Shanahan is doing a great job of just screwing with everybody right now with this whole 2-quarterback system, being vague on all these other things. He is just having a ball. I think that I'm going to reverse course on what I said. I don't think we're going to see too much of Trey Lance in week 1. Just that, the idea that it'll be in the back of their mind, but I think that you're going to see exclusively Jimmy in this game.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, you use week 3 as a dress rehearsal of sorts, and I mean, Dan Campbell doesn't seem like the kind of guy who could focus on more than 3 things at a time. So, we'll see. Well, maybe just give him that extra thing he has to think about and then throw it out the window. Fun things like that. And I'm happy for Simba Webster to get picked up somewhere. That was a guy I was, as I said, hoping to come back on the practice squad. He didn't. I'm happy somebody picked him up, though. We'll move on to tight end. The Niners keep 3. The biggest surprise here, they kept George Kittle, Ross Dwelley, Charlie Warner, the 3.
I was wondering.
The 2 cut. Yeah, George Kittle, I was really worried about.
I was worried if he was going to make the roster. I didn't know. He had an uphill battle. I
was too. The 2 cut, Michael Pruitt, no longer Michael. He's your Cole.
Your Cole.
I hate that I make that joke. And really Jordan good. Matthews. The 2nd cut, but I believe he was brought back to the practice squad. I don't know. Nothing mind-blowing here. I mean, I guess the biggest surprise is the Michael cut, just because the Niners signed him to a guaranteed contract, or not a guaranteed contract. I believe the amount was $637,000 was guaranteed, which is a decent amount. It's a decent amount of money. obviously they didn't like what they saw out of him, and they just I think what this came down to was we talk about cutting 3 or 1 quarterback, keeping 2. I think this was another one. Was, hey, we could have 4 tight ends, or we could have 3 tight ends and save that spot somewhere else. And I think I think this was the biggest position where that came from. I think tight end was the biggest position.
Yeah, and Pruitt was behind the 8 ball anyway. He had the calf injury, and then I guess they didn't like what they saw from him at that point. Kind of felt like Warner was going to be on there because he's a draft pick. Dwelley, for a fact, especially since, Josh Hokett didn't make it, right? But a lot of what happens with Josh Hokett has to do with the fact that Ross Dwelley can play fullback in a pinch. So, again, when you have someone like that, kind of becomes redundant to have, Hokett's on the practice squad. And I actually think that he had a really good preseason as well, too. But, yeah, I mean, the Pruitt thing, he was behind the 8 ball. Jordan Matthews is always going to be on speed dial really quick to bring back. So that wasn't a surprise that he came back to the practice squad. He actually looked pretty good, at times during camp. Like he's a guy, a contested catch guy. He was tough getting separation, but he was catching the ball. So, I mean, it's hard to say. But, yeah, if it comes down to, bringing these guys up, then, the position's in a little bit of bad way.
Yeah, and maybe a hot take, Jason, going back to a previous position, maybe they felt good with 3 tight ends because Jalen Hurd, we've taught, like when they drafted him, they talked about his ability to play multiple positions. So maybe they see him as a hybrid receiver tight end guy who can go inside if they need. So I think that played into it too, but I really think that they like defensive line depth. I think that's pretty obvious at this point, and tight end probably don't need much depth because if George Kittle can stay healthy for a full 17 games, ideally 20 games, you don't need to worry about the depth there now too much, do you? So tight end, I mean, do we have anything else to say? I think this was probably the most boring position in terms of the cuts. Offensive line, they keep 8: Trent Williams, Lincoln Tomlinson, Alex Mack, Daniel Brunskill, Mike McGlinchey, Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks, Tom Compton. They cut.
What's that last one?
Tom Compton.
Say one more time.
Tom Compton. They cut Colton McKivitz, Jake Brendel, Sunil Clemente, Dakota Shepley, Alfredo Gutierrez, and then on injured reserve is Sean Coleman. And I know obviously you have your thoughts on Tom Compton. I was reading some of the stuff Rich was tweeting. The reason they picked Compton over McKivitz was they like his versatility better. I think it's also Kyle Shanahan has his guys. I think that's more to it, is he has his guys, and that is a preference. He's not gonna say it like Urban Meyer said, we're cutting guys who aren't vaccinated. He's not gonna come out and say that, Angie, with the good reference. By the way, speaking of TikToks, go look at Steph Sanchez's TikTok.
Oh,
she had a very fire TikTok that y'all need to go to her Twitter page. She posted it. It's fantastic.
It is.
So yeah, offensive line, I don't think there is too much of a surprise, maybe other than the McKivitz Compton thing, but as I said, it came to Shanahan's preference, and that's just kind of what it is at this point.
Yeah, Shanahan talked about it today. It's about the versatility, him being able to move around, play guard tackle. So that implies to me that the backup center is Daniel Brunskill. But, again, right guard's been my concern, even with Brunskill there. I think that if Tom Compton has to take extended reps, it's not going to be good. It's just not going to be good. But I understand why they did it, and that's fine. It's not my decision. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and get all mad about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, my thing is, man, is this is the right guard position kind of makes you think how important that Justin School injury could be, right? Because he was a guy who was kind of their Swiss Army knife, master of not great at anything, but he was good enough. He could have been a guy who slid into right guard. So that obviously hurts. So we'll see. Right guard, probably the biggest concern. If we isolate all 22 positions on the football field, right guard's probably concern 1 for me.
Yep.
So versatility isn't going to hurt. We'll see what happens with the position. Maybe Aaron Banks shows out a little bit more here in the coming weeks, and he earns that spot back. Brunskill, we'll see. It worries me, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess that's kind of what you could say about the entire season.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, it'll really come down to seeing this offensive line take extended reps together with Alex Mack calling protections, with Alex Mack being the anchor. So I think that, yes, while he has struggled in one-on-one reps, which is something you don't want to see, and that has nothing to do with the center, at the same time, the cohesion, let's see what we can get. Let's take a week of practice. Let's get everybody up to speed because the games start to count now. So you got to hit the ground running week 1. So I think that I'm concerned, but I'm not overly panicked. just because I haven't been able to see the line intact and in action.
We'll go to the other side of the ball now, and you guys got to give me 5 minutes. I have 11 names to list here. The Niners keep Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, D Ford, Samson Ebukam, DJ Jones, Zach Kerr, Kentavious Street, Kevin Givens, Arden Key, and Maurice Hurst. They cut Eddie Yarborough, Alex Barrett, Darion Daniels, and then on the suspended list is Jordan Willis. Zach Kerr made it. That's all I want to say. Zach Kerr made the team. I know people were concerned about it. I wasn't. I thought he played very well. And this just confirms my theory that if you take that second group of names after Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, Ford, and you take Ebukam, Jones, Kerr, Street, that's a pretty damn good defensive line. The Niners are stupid deep here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why you have to kind of cut costs everywhere else, or, you know, players and things like that. And we all know how this roster wants to be built. They want to build from the inside out, whether that's offensive line and defensive line. As we've said many times that we think that this line has a chance to be better than 2019 just based on depth. And if the 49ers have injuries at other places, pass rush, fresh legs are always going to be the, deodorant for anything that's going wrong on the other side. It covers everything up. Covers up the bad stuff. Yeah. So, yes, and the 49ers, we all know that what they want to do now has a lot more to do with pressures. There's going to be a lot more man-on-man situations on the outside and on the back end. So you have to be able to cover that up, because I don't care how good your cornerback is, you can't cover for 4 and 5 seconds. So pass rush is going to be very, very important. Clear that the 49ers know what they have, because they even took calls on these defensive linemen and we're saying no on all of them. So it's a good problem to have. With Mo Hurst on IR, that's another person coming back. Jordan Willis was phenomenal. So they're about 13 deep, really, when you think about it, you know. So it's going to be good to happen, because you know that injuries are bound to happen as part of the game, you know. So it's always good to have these guys that you know can generate pressure and are very talented. I love what they're doing with picking up guys with high spark scores and the athleticism and Chris Kocurek working them and getting them to their potential. I think is genius, and that's why they've been able to build this lineup with as much depth as they have.
And I'll take the depth in a more positive angle than the injury side of it. And I hate to use this saying because it's so 2019, but Chris Kocurek, you love him. I love him.
I love him.
Can really employ that all gas, no brakes with this depth as well. Like, he can be aggressive, get these guys upfield quick, and have a rotation of guys going and keeping guys fresh. You know, if obviously you don't want to do it, but if there's a play where, like, hey, third down, Nick Bosa just needs a breather for whatever dumb reason, okay, Ebukam, go on in. You know, things like that, little things like that make Chris Kocurek's job a lot easier. They could just be aggressive as all hell. And that's just what it is. It's exciting. This is the group that I want to watch the most. And this is the group that a lot of people, we talk about the secondary issues, but if this defensive line hits like it should, I'm not too worried about the secondary anymore, because they're going to get to the quarterback and feel like they're going to be that annoying. You remember playing football as a kid and like there was no offensive lineman, you're playing at school and you had to do as a pass rush, you had to do the 1.2.3. The Niners defensive line is the annoying kid who goes 1.2.3.4.5, and you don't get that time because they're counting too fast. And that's going to help the secondary. A hell of a comparison I know, Jason, didn't expect that.
Hey, it works.
But that's just kind of what it is.
The deodorant one from me was a little bit, you know, it was lost in translation. So
you got there though. You got there though.
Sort of. This is a good comment by Scott. As soon as the starting defensive tackle goes down anywhere in the league, our phone will be ringing. I would feel way better if we took a spare D lineman and turned him into a starting caliber O lineman or a pick. And that's a great point, you know, as well, especially with guys coming back. If you're able to recoup, remember there's no first rounders, you know, for a while. So you want to be able to stockpile third, fourth, maybe even seconds, depending on how dire the situation is. So, that's a good point. So whether they could turn that into a lineman or turn that into draft picks, I would say that that's a win.
Yeah, and speaking of turning players into draft picks, linebacker, they keep 5: Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shaair, Marcel Harris. Yes, Marcel Harris is a linebacker, guys. And Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. They cut Justin Hilliard and Elijah Sullivan. And then they trade Jonas Griffith, which probably was the biggest surprise at the linebacker spot. They traded him in a 2022 7th-round pick to the Broncos for a 2022 6th-round pick and a 7th-rounder in 2023. Jonas Griffith was one of those guys that probably impressed me the most in the preseason. He was a guy whose name I try and take notes during the games. I wrote down his name a lot. I was very impressed with him. Obviously, the Niners decided they already had like this is a move that they knew their 5 going into the preseason. And Jonas Griffith, man, they said, you know what, you played well enough. We're not going to cut you. We're going to get picks out of it. So kudos to Lynch and Shanahan for that. It's obviously a bummer for people who like Jonas Griffith. It is. But that's just what the business is. The Niners had their 5 linebackers and nobody was going to crack it. And they ended up getting a pick for 1.
Yeah. And Jonas Griffith was going to be somebody who, unfortunately, was probably going to be left off the roster, even though he deserved a spot, especially when you talk about all those defensive linemen. But turning an undrafted free agent into draft capital, chef's kiss. Way to go, John Lynch. That was really good. Yep, that was perfect. So yes, and I'm happy for him because that's a good fit for him over there with Vic Fangio. I think that he's going to be a contributor over there as well too. So happy for him, and I think that was really, really smart of them to recoup as many picks as they can, especially when they knew, hey, he's probably not going to be able to make it just because of the number crunch, because he did impress. He was all over. He was in camp. The ball found his way to him. Ball magnet, I don't know if that's a real thing, but every time there was either an interception or a tip pass or something like that, Jonas Griffith was in the middle of it. So
yeah, I like Jonas Griffith, and hopefully he gets a good shot out in Denver. So we'll see what they end up doing with him. They keep 6 cornerbacks: Jason Verrett, Emmanuel Mosley, K'Wan Williams, Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas, and Devontae Harris. The 2 cuts were Dante Johnson and Alexander Myers. I don't know, this felt pretty chalk outside of Devontae Harris over Dante Johnson.
But guess who's back? He signed a 1-year deal today, and that's it. I mean, there was never a doubt that he was going to be on this roster. Again, when you start to go through IR designations and you start putting guys who are on the 53 on IR, now it opens up spots. So we all knew Dante Johnson was going to be back. And the reason that you should have known that is when Emmanuel Mosley went down and he wasn't there in the beginning of camp, who ran on the other side of Jason Verrett? That was what was so telling. That's why I knew certain guys were going to make the team, because they automatically were ahead. So Dante Johnson was starting opposite of Jason Verrett. Now, obviously, Mosley comes back, but he'll be the first one off the bench, it looks like, him or Lenore at this point. This was early in camp when Lenore had it already impressed, but Dante Johnson means a lot to this team.
Yeah,
he is going to be around. He's been around for Kelly, Harbaugh, Kelly. No, how many? No, so Balky, all of them. He's been since Balky, right? Like Harbaugh, Kelly, and Tom Sula. Yep.
Don't forget Tom Sula.
No, I can't.
It
was a brain fart. It was a brain fart.
I'm a little offended you remember Chip Kelly before Jim Tom Sula.
It was a brain fart.
I do that all the time too. It's okay, Jason.
No, well, it was more about Jim Tom Sula's flatulence. But hey,
I love Jim Tom Sula. Jim Tom Sula is one of my favorites. I felt he was put in a position he should have never been put in.
No, 5-0, man. How do you not go to? I mean, coach wins are a thing, man. When you have the highest winning percentage ever, you're 5-0. You make that move 10 out of 10 times.
That's very true. You should have gone there before Chip Kelly. Some nights when I drink a lot, I try and just drink the memory away that the Niners had Chip Kelly as a head coach. I never liked him. 4 safeties: Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart, who wears number 3 now, Talanoa Hufanga, and Tavon Wilson. They cut Clinton Dix and Jared Maiden, and Tarvarius Moore goes to the reserved, physically unable to perform list. I'm a little sad because I was very pro Clinton Dix. I get it. I understand it. I thought he had a pretty good preseason, but hey, Niners, this was a position that was going to be hard to crack, especially with them drafting Hufanga, and they just decided they like Tavon Wilson a little better, is what it is. What do you think about the safety position? Because I know you're a big Tavon Wilson guy.
Yeah, that was I didn't really have any surprises with that. And realistically, they kind of kept 5 safeties with Marcel Harris because he can still slide back into that role if he's pressed into duty. So it really didn't. I knew Tavon Wilson was going to be there. Again, who was running across from him, across from Jimmy Ward when Tart wasn't there? Him. They brought Clinton Dixon too late into camp for him to really make an impact. Jared Maiden started slowly, played better. I'm glad they brought him back. They're still in contact with right now, apparently, too, as well. John Lynch was saying today, I believe, at the press conference, that they're still in contact with him about his practice squad options. I'm sure that there's other teams that have come calling now that they've seen him back on the field and he's got that film out there. So I this kind of felt like it was normal. I didn't really have too many surprises. Everybody's on track for week 1. This defense is going to be as healthy as it's going to be probably in a long time. I mean, well, for week 1 to have everybody pretty much who's a starter be prepared to play, it's a good thing. Very good thing.
Yeah, and I said on Monday too, like it's almost like with Hufanga and Marcel Harris, like you almost have to create a separate category for them because they're going to be doing a little bit of both. I wouldn't be surprised if we get 3 safety designs out there just because how good Hufanga's really forced a move for him to get on the field more. He's not going to start over Jaquiski Tartt. It bothers me that people forget how good he is just because he's been hurt. Jaquiski Tartt is a very good safety in this league. And if he stays healthy, like he's a guy who you can put in a conversation as a top 5 strong safety in this league. So like, I understand the hype. It's very recency bias to me, but I do think Hufanga is a guy you're going to have to figure out how to get on the field. Just not over Jaquiski Tartt, not going to happen. So safety, I feel very solid with. I feel really solid with this defense. Just in general, we were a little worried about the depth at cornerback, and Diamador Lenore made it a little bit better. And I feel really good about where the defense is.
One more thing, too, about the cornerback thing is, obviously K'Waun Williams is the nickel, but don't discount the fact that maybe in a pinch, Jimmy Ward can be that inside slot corner because he can plant people like that, and he's like that. So, and then you can run Tartt and Hufanga positionless almost because, free safety, strong safety, it's not really – those aren't really like important. Like they'll flip them either way or leave them single high. So all those things kind of change around. So yeah, don't discount the fact that Jimmy Ward, that flexibility allows them to have him out there and he can cover up some things for you on the back end. And I think, we all know that Jimmy Ward is great, but yeah, just for people who didn't know.
Jason, this is your 3-second warning to like turn me down or not hear me because we're going to talk about the 3 special teams guys. Robbie Gould, Mitch Wisnowski, and Tabor Pepper makes the squad. And that's all we really need to say about that because they were always making the squad. No movement. No worry there. Hey, you want to talk about the practice squad, Jason? Let's do it.
Wait, did we skip over cornerbacks?
No, we did cornerback.
Oh, wait, Ambry and all those guys too?
You want to say words about Ambry?
No, I was just trying to remember if we touched on it, but yeah, go for it. I believe we did. Yeah, okay.
We did talk about them. They got 13 players on the practice squad, but a couple moves were made before that. They signed offensive lineman Jake Brendel, one of the names we mentioned as a cut, and Dante Johnson, another one, because they put Devontae Harris and Maurice Hurst on the injured reserve list. So that already changes the numbers we just told you about because Brendel makes it 9 offensive linemen. Hurst going on the IL makes it 10 defensive linemen. And they signed 13 players for the practice squad. As I said, I believe they get a max of 17. So please do not yell at me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably wrong. They signed, are you ready for this list? Jason Aponte, defensive lineman Alex Barrett, wide receiver Travis Benjamin, wide receiver River Craycraft, he is back, defensive lineman Darian Daniels, offensive lineman Alfredo Gutierrez, who is part of the NFL's International Pathway Program. Fullback Josh Hokett. They bring back offensive lineman Corbin Kalfusi, which if I'm butchering that, I apologize. They also bring back offensive lineman Sinio Calamete. Tight end Jordan Matthews, he's back. Safety Jared Maiden, Offensive lineman Colton McKivitz. Quarterback Nate Sudfeld and linebacker Elijah Sullivan. And I guess to me, just with that initial list, and maybe it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, is those are all names they've had. It's not like they picked somebody else's cuts. They just brought back the guys they knew.
I think there was one guy that they brought in. I just can't remember who it is who's on this list that is not from there. But pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's kind of how they do it. If you have any sort of familiarity, like, again, that's why Nate Sudfeld's there because it's Gangarello. That's why Tom Compton's there because he knows, Shanahan, and he always seems to find Jordan Matthews. All those guys, they always seem to find their way back on. So there's a lot of trust that gets built in that building, and they care deeply about that. You would have to have a lot of elite physical traits or be an amazing football player to overpower what that means for them when they trust you.
Yeah, I mean, practice squad, man, is what it is. I'm happy they kept Sudfeld just because he's been there.
Oh, I know who it was. They signed D Virgin from
yes, they brought it.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the original list. They did sign Virgin from the Patriots, I believe, on the practice squad. I just have the list that the Niners put out at 150 today, so that may have happened afterwards. I apologize, Virgin. Didn't mean to forget about you. I just was reading the list I had. But yeah, I mean, practice squad is the practice squad. I'm happy Travis Benjamin's there. As I said, I would have liked it better if Simba Webster didn't sign with the Bears. River Craycraft. I mean, you know, we like River Craycraft.
They like him.
Yeah, they like him. There's obviously a reason that he was a guy they brought in for the Packer game last year, and there's a reason he's coming back. And it's not surprising that it's all guys that other than Virgin, which I've added, that they're all guys that Shanahan has familiarity with. Hopefully, Clinton Dix also is brought back because I like him and I think he's a good veteran presence to have. Just overall, just solid. I don't know. It was a boring cut day for the Niners. I mean, there was no big surprises. There was no Cam Newton's getting released or things like that. It was kind of chalk.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, that's what we wanted. We wanted people from this roster. Obviously, there's a name out there that I want, but we're not going to, pound the table for that because it's not going to happen at this point. But yes, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, if you're listening, I plead with you. John Brown's a free agent. Please, just please.
Yeah, and I know there was some people out there, not going to name names, Mike Florio, who was trying to speak like the Garoppolo getting cut into existence for whatever reason, but that just never made sense. I know people are looking at their cap space and talking about that, but the cap space isn't necessary at this point to me. I mean, you could figure out other ways to free it up and not get rid of a quarterback who has played for this team for 4 years and was the supposedly the franchise quarterback. So yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a chalk cut day. That's really what it was, and we'll see how it sticks, because obviously there's a reason they say the initial 53-man roster, because this is going to rotate so much in the next 18, 19, 20 weeks. So, I mean, what else are we going to be able to say other than good job, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. You picked up the 53 guys you felt were best, and Jason and I are going to talk a lot about in the next 20 some weeks.
Yes, thank God. I'm so happy.
Is that the best way to put like a little bow over that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about 53 people I care so very much about who don't know I exist. I love it. Football is amazing. I love this sport, and I'm very, very excited for this season to kick off. Jason, we're wrapping up at this point. So, I mean, we have 2 episodes we probably have to do, receiver preview and quarterback preview. We have a little more clarity on that now. But Don Burr, I hope you're still here, because we have next Friday, September 10th, the first preview of the season. We're going to be previewing the 49ers Lions game. They open up the season Sunday, September 12th, 10 a.m. my time, 1 p.m. Jason's time. So if you live closer to Jason, 1 p.m. And we're revving up. We're going back to our normal 2 podcasts a week thing we did last year, where we're back. I mean, Jason, I don't mean to get sentimental here, but like, we're creeping up of 1 year of this.
Yep.
We're creeping up of 1 year of this, and that's wild to me that we started this just kind of on a whim, and it's turned into what it is. And it's weird to me saying like, yeah, we're going back to what we did last year, because last year we didn't have any reference. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, we started doing this once a week on Wednesdays, and we decided about halfway through the year, like, hey, why don't we go Monday, Fridays? But hey, the grind is here. The Niners open the season against the Lions, and they go to Philadelphia. Then they got the Packers, and after that, please don't ask me because my memory isn't that great. I don't know. You have any final thoughts you have before we get out of here?
Nope. Successful camp. Amazing preseason. Most guys are healthy. Pretty much everybody that we wanted back is back. So yeah, excited to go. Just get everybody ready to go this week. Some light practices. Enjoy the weekend because it is Labor Day. So, go enjoy yourself, have some fun, but enjoy your last one Sunday without chaos, and kiss your loved ones. Tell them I won't be responding to your calls. Don't invite me to your outings on Sundays. It's just a flat no, because business is booming and it's back. So let's go.
Football is back Football is back. Football is back. It's exciting. It's great timing because it feels like the Giants are collapsing, but it's only because they're facing a really good Brewers team. It is what it is. Jason, if that's really it for the day, I guess we usually say, as always,
let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.